Okay, now who are the folks that we are trying to reach? We've done a lot of studies with the help of marketing in regards to trying to define who our passengers are. So the information that I'll be sharing will be from some of those intercept studies that were done inside the terminals. And basically, when you look at what that average age is across all of our terminals, it's 44 years old, and that's as of February. And that income, which is really good from a retailer perspective, is the fact that we've got 38% of our passengers making over $100,000 a year. And from a male-female perspective, though it's still a little bit more male, you can see that from a female perspective, we've seen this change over the years where the female passenger is traveling just as much as the male counterpart. And from an ethnicity standpoint, about 24% of that mix is ethnically diverse. And we're looking at passengers making an average of 7 trips a year. So now let's talk specifically about Terminal B. Heavy connector. About 73% of those passengers are connecting to someplace other than Dallas. They are going on average about 500 miles away from Dallas, so Arkansas, Oklahoma, different parts of Texas. So a lot of short commutes. It's almost like our bus in the sky, so to speak. It's more leisure. Slightly more female. As you can see, the mix on overall was 47%. On this, we're looking at a slightly higher mix of 52%. Our largest age group is 55 to 64, which is interesting because you won't see that in Terminal E. And, it's not first class because it's really regional jets, so you have more of that commuter type effect. And the average trip, majority of those are 1 to 5 trips per year. Now, when you look at that Terminal E demographic, you can see that that's all O&D. For those of you that are not familiar with our 5 different terminals, which operate like their own separate airport, if you are not flying American, this is where you would fly out of. Every other carrier that we have that does domestic travel is out of Terminal E. Our low-cost providers, as well as Delta, United, Continental, US Air, and everything else in between. And another interesting point is that about 47% of the passengers out of Terminal E are renting cars. It's our highest car rental terminal, and not surprising since there's a lot of destinating passengers coming in. It's an even split of male-female, and the age group is slightly younger, 45 to 54. First class, a little bit more, a lot of economy, and again, in regards to that sweet spot being less than 5 trips or so per year. The other interesting fact here is just looking at the use of Skylink, and this is what I would kind of correlate it to. Because you've got a huge O&D traffic base coming through your checkpoints, you don't have that connectability that's happening that you would see in Terminals B. So only 3.2% of your passengers are going to be connecting. And the reason being is that American is not in that terminal. It's everybody else. So they are going from point to point on whatever carrier that they have. However, in Terminal B, huge connecting base there. Again, this is just looking at kind of that short haul of those passengers traveling 500 miles or less. And certainly they're going to be traveling more than likely on American Eagle. And then we look at dwell time. You can see again in Terminals B, which would be your light blue, that they have very little dwell time because they are connecting. They are off the chart as relates to 31 to 60 minutes in terms of that time frame that they have inside the terminal. And that question is asked kind of once you get through the checkpoint or once you get to your particular terminal, how much time do you have? So this is the passenger's perception of time once they've gotten to their specific terminal. Conversely, when you look at Terminal E, it's really akin to like a Terminal D, which is our international terminal, where passengers come early. You say be there 2 hours ahead of time, they are there. They're my sister and her kids when she comes to visit. She's at the airport at 3 hours ahead of time, no matter what, and she sits right there in that seat in front of that particular carrier that she's going out to. And we also did some questions in regards to, well, what do you like? What would you like to see? And just trying to see if there's anything different. And in Terminal B, 49% local concepts, 51% national, meaning for us that we're still going to have that mix. Passengers still want to have that local flavor, but they also want national and regional taste as well. A little bit more on the quick serve. And not surprised, they don't have a lot of time. They want to be able to take advantage of those opportunities quickly, particularly when it comes to food. However, they still want full-service restaurant choices. They want healthy. They also listed some of the things that are specific to our marketplace in terms of Tex-Mex, Mexican types of taste, but then broader in regards to Italian seafood and barbecue. 13% specialty retail, and no surprise here in terms of a lot of convenient type retail, things that are necessities for their trip. When you look at electronics and accessories and the stuff I missed that I forgot to pack, that's what they're going to be focused on. Similarly with Terminal E, actually this one skews a little bit flip-flop. They want more local. And again, these are folks that are either originating from the Dallas Metroplex or they are coming specifically to the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. So they're looking for more local concepts. They still want national, but we're also looking for best-in-class local. They too want quick serve because there's this feeling that I'm going directly to US Air and it's 5 gates or so, so I need to hurry up and get my stuff right there. However, they still want the luxury of full-serve restaurants. So we are looking to have some full-serve, but also quick-serve opportunities there. And again, from a retail perspective, specialty retail, they're looking for also heavy on the convenient retail, looking for electronics, computer supplies, women's apparel, beauty items, things of that nature. And this is another interesting chart because it talks about in regards to that distribution of passengers and what time of day are they coming. And basically, you look at B, and that disbursement is throughout the day. When you look at E, they're there at 4 o'clock in the morning. For those that are currently doing business in E, you know that you've got to be ready to go as soon as that first flight leaves. So they're lining up at our checkpoints at 4:30, and they're ready for that first flight to get out of there at 5:30 or 6 in the morning. So it's going to be very important for those providers that will be providing food and beverage opportunities that they have a variety of breakfast items. So we'll be talking a lot about that as we get further into the solicitation process. And our goals are still the same. We want to provide the best-in-class food and beverage retail options that our passengers are looking for. And we are here to generate revenue. We'd like to share in the revenue that you give us, as well as to make sure that our passengers get what they need. And we want to do that with having the right space available. Terminal E used to have more space than what it needed, and we're looking to right-size that terminal so that it does kind of coincide with our goals of 8 to 10 square feet per enplaned passenger. We're also looking to increase our sales per enplaned passenger and looking to kind of right-size the mix. So it's more in line with 60% food, 40% retail. And in terms of sense of place, and we are working on a lot of different ways in which that we can accomplish this, but don't be surprised in your solicitation if we asked you to really expand on what's going to create that sense of place. What is, how do you involve the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex feeling in either design or product mix, et cetera, in your solicitation? And our solicitation will be threefold when it comes to the in-terminal. The fact that we are looking for best-in-class local, we're looking for best-in-class regional. It's very important, particularly when you start thinking about like a Terminal B, Bravo, where you got folks that are traveling around the region that they want to taste, they want to feel, they want to have those kinds of experiences that they're familiar with, as well as national brands. Our passengers are pretty savvy. They still travel quite a bit, so they have a preference to brands that they trust and brands that they have had experience with. And this is kind of like my favorite chart. For those of you that have not done business in Dallas or in an airport, it's easy to get lulled by the fact that our sales per square foot is 2 to 3 times what you would see on the land side. And, but there are some costs there. The cost as it relates to build-out costs, as they used to say, we are an airport, and unfortunately there are some costs that are associated with that in terms of building out, in terms of working with our TSA, badging for employees. You just can't hire someone and get them to work right away. They have to be trained, yes, but they also have to go through the screening. You have to wait for the badging, and sometimes you miss some folks because they want to work right away. So all of those add up to the cost. So you need to factor that in as you're looking at wanting to propose in the airport, and also understand that our operating and maintenance costs are a separate fee. So you have your percent rent, you may have your minimum annual guarantee, but you also will have operating and maintenance costs that will be billed to you separately. So keep all of that in mind as you're putting together your proposals. Any questions before I hand this off? Yes? We do not have kiosks. Maybe in the future. For right now, we're looking to do all the inline locations first, and then we'll see if there are opportunities for us to maybe shore up some areas as we finish and kind of settle in. Any other questions? Well, we are a great airport. I look forward to everyone participating, putting your best foot forward, and paying heed in regards to what our passengers are looking for, because it's really all about the passenger experience. If you provide them with the best concept and the best product mix that meets their needs, then you will be successful, as will the airport.